Don't expect to jump from dead grass to green grass. There's going to be some level of mud in between, and I think the more accurate you are and the deeper understanding you have of that mud, the more likely you are to succeed.
Any new endeavor takes 2 years to kind of fail and learn, go into debt. The next 2 years, you kind of break even and start to get it, and it takes 7 to actually succeed on a level that anyone else will ever notice.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1602, One New Awareness Can Change Everything. It's a very hyper-conscious episode. Today, for episode number 1603, Why Quitting Your Job is a Mistake, potentially. I was on a podcast, and someone said that. They said, it's so amazing that you found quote-unquote success, and you quit your job, and you went all in on this. And I said, it is amazing now, but it was not for the first several years. And I said, you have to figure out, and you've heard me say this before probably, if you're a new listener, this might be brand new, you have to figure out what mud you want. Choose your mud, because very rarely are we going to jump from brown grass to green grass. So in this example, brown grass was my old job that I absolutely hated. Green grass was being a successful podcaster who could pay the bills with the podcast. The mud in between for me was being so broke that I couldn't get my car fixed, so broke that I couldn't buy Christmas presents for Taryn one year, so broke I got sent to collections because I couldn't pay my car insurance. That
brutal.
was my mud. Brutal. It was some of the most brutal times of my life. That was my mud. I know it sounds really good to say I'm going to quit my job and go all in on my thing, and I want you to be able to get to that point as a dream chaser. That is what we're all after. But sometimes you have to do something to pay the bills while you build the thing that's going to pay the bills long term. I have so many clients who say to me, I don't want to do one-on-one coaching. I want to do this in 5 years. How are we going to survive long enough to get you 5 years down the line if we don't do the thing that's going to pay for the bills in the short term? So that's kind of the view of this episode, and this was Alan's idea. The thing that you're doing now, it might not be the thing that you love, but it might sustain you paying the bills long enough to build up momentum for the thing that you love. So maybe you have a day job that you don't like, but on the weekends, you go out and take pictures. And you build up your portfolio, and you make connections, and you hone your craft, and you get better, and you understand more. Then, I don't know, you do that for a year. And then a year down the line, you work 4 days at your job, and then you work 3 days on your side hustle. But you're still paying your bills with that full-time job. That's really what we want to talk about today. I know quitting your job, when you hear it in a story, probably sounds super sexy. But for most people, I don't want to say for most people, for many people, it can be a recipe for disaster because you lose the gasoline to power the vehicle to the next station, for lack of better phrasing.
So I have 2 clients in particular that do this. I mean, in some ways, all of us really do this, but think of 2 trains that are in parallel. Okay? I believe that everyone needs 2 trains in parallel at all times. This is my belief, having coached people from all different industries all over the world. At the end of the day, one of the trains is called short-term profitability, and the other train is called long-term wealth. And I've never found an exception to this rule. Okay? What the problem is that Kevin's describing is that a lot of times you see people like Kevin and I who are 7 years into this journey, and we've allowed the train of long-term wealth to start surpassing the short-term profitability that got us here. And there's a lot of mentors that we had in the past that were dream chasers that we would interview, and when we got behind the scenes and we realized their true story, they were, super famous in XYZ, and they were super successful multimillionaires, genuinely. But what we found out is that early in their journey, their wife was actually bootstrapping the bills, keeping the lights on, keeping the kids fed, that kind of thing. And so a lot of times, someone that you see that's super successful, you don't know if they inherited the money. You don't know if their wife or their husband is bootstrapping the enterprise. And you really just don't know. And what I do know is this principle always applies. every household, every business has two trains. They have short-term profitability that keeps the lights on and keeps the cash in the bank account. And then they have a long-term wealth play. So YouTube is a perfect example. I have two clients that do YouTube. I had one client in the past who did YouTube with 50 million plus views. So I know YouTube. I understand how this works. And YouTube's a good example because I think that's what a lot of people say. I want to be a YouTuber, right? That's like a very common dream these days. Very cool. So I have one client. This person will know who I'm talking about. So shout out to you, brother. He's a physical therapist and he works at 3 different clinics. And that is short-term profitability. He does physical therapy for a good amount of money and it's immediately into his bank account. Okay, it's paycheck, paycheck, paycheck. And in tandem, he's also building a YouTube channel. Now, the important piece of this episode, Health, Wealth, and Love, we're talking about wealth today, is without being a physical therapist and that paying the bills, he would not be able to succeed on YouTube because he wouldn't be able to sustain it long enough to succeed. YouTube is a long play. No one blows up on YouTube overnight, and if they do, it's very rare. Okay, that does happen, but it's very, very rare. So here's what he does. Physical therapy is his main A. So we'll call that train A. Short-term profitability, pays the bills, money in the bank account, pays rent, pays food, pays utilities, okay? And then B is the YouTube channel. And as long as he sustains momentum, I think of it like a rowboat. You have to row with both oars simultaneously. If you're only rowing with one oar, you're just going in circles. Okay, so you're in a rowboat and you need to row simultaneously. Now, the cool part is that the YouTube channel is also about physio. His name on YouTube is The Athletic Physio. So it's about physical therapy, but bodybuilding. So it's like being athletic and non-injured, injury-free. Now, YouTube is not making a ton of money. Physio is making good money. Physio is paying for YouTube. The train of YouTube could not continue without the gas being fed. Again, I know trains don't take gas, but forgive my metaphors here. And I just realized that this is such a fundamental misunderstanding that people don't understand. Even NLU, our business, this podcast is free. We've done 1,600 episodes for free. We've never made a single dollar from this podcast. And
Directly.
It's not free.
Directly.
Yeah, directly, which I'm going to get into in a second.
Okay. Just want to make
Okay. We have a production team that does this show. That's not free. Now that I'm CFO, I really know that to an extreme degree. But my point is that we don't make any direct revenue from this podcast. All right? We do make direct revenue from coaching, from producing podcasts, from doing social media. We have a bunch of stuff. Okay, so our train B is this podcast. Our train A is actually the things we're doing behind the scenes to keep the lights on. And what happens, and this is where everyone gets tripped up, is at this point, you and I, Kev, train B is surpassing train A. And so it makes it look easy. Because when you're 1,603 episodes in and you're getting 600 listens a day, it gets 10 times easier. And then people lose sight of, for a long time, you and I had to grind for every dollar, every day. And now we have a 21-person team, and now we have more success, and we have a successful business. And so now the train B that was actually what I would call a money pit, aka something you invest in that makes no money back, has now become the main train. And then that's when you see people really winning. And that's actually very misleading if you're not careful, because in the beginning, it was actually the opposite. In the beginning, it was do whatever you have to do to make rent. Kev literally lived with his friend and painted on the side to like renovate the house for lower rent. And it's very important to realize that that's what dream chasing takes. And so my synopsis is simple. Train A always has to stay running, and that's the one that puts money in your bank account quickly. It's action is taken, money is in bank account now. That's why I recommend Uber Eats, DoorDash, drive for Uber, drive for Lyft. dog sit on the side. Those things. I have one client, she's in her 60s. She's literally an executive and she still cleans houses and cooks food. She's just making an extra $300, $400, $200. It all adds up because she's doing her own business on the side and she's an executive as well, contract executive. So the point that I'm making though is the first train has to stay the first train. And you cannot quit the first train until the second one has momentum. And you and I did it very differently, but even then we were bootstrapping. I mean, there's a reason our studio was in my mother's basement. And it's very important for people to realize that we could never have survived if we weren't willing to keep the lights on along the way and go into
massive debt.
Some debt. What's the word? DEBT?
Yeah, DEBT.
Debt. Yeah, we had to
do
some of that.
They let you go. They'll let you go. They'll
let you go right past zero.
It's wild.
Yeah, you can keep digging.
No, they will turn it off eventually. Trust me, I know how much you can go over your credit card limit before they turn it off.
Yeah. Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes.
I think of it almost as a pendulum for scalability. So when we say scalability, all it means to be scalable is, well, you could probably explain it better than I. What does it mean to be scalable? What does scalability mean?
It means one more unit of your time can eventually create 10 times more outcome.
See, I would have said something much dumber than that, so that's probably good that I kicked it to you. This is kind of how I think of it. In the beginning, it's not scalable to do 40 hours and then 20 hours. I mean, you could if you really, 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 really wanted to and circumstances allowed it. If you have a family and a household, it makes life a heck of a lot harder. Eventually, so just as an example, I was on the phone with one of our clients yesterday, and this client was going to get rid of one of our services. So Jessie, the amazing Jessie, has left. Jessie's going to do her own thing, so we wish her nothing but the best, all the love. So grateful for the time that we get to spend together.
Jessie, thank you for everything you did for NLU. You
100%.
Were nothing short of an absolute rock star.
100%. We are very blessed to have that time together that we did. She was doing social media for this client. When this client found out Jessie was leaving, they said, I think I'm just going to do my own social media. And I talked to them yesterday, and I said, can I just get feedback? Like, what's that about? And this client said, I'm just nervous somebody else won't be able to find my voice. And I said, what if I could guarantee they do? And she said, who's going to do it? And I said, I'm going to do it. And she said, why are you going to do it? Aren't there better uses of your time? And I said, no, this is Next Level Social Media is the next level podcast solutions. And that's kind of how it works. I was doing very unscalable things in the beginning for Next Level Podcast Solutions, and now I'm going to do the same for Next Level Social Media, and eventually there'll be whatever. Next Level Painting Solutions. Well, I'll come to your house and paint your house or something. Who knows?
Kev, you and I didn't know this in the beginning, but we could never have succeeded in business without each other to this extent, because you basically do things that aren't scalable, and I'm entirely focused on scale all the time. And I'll be really quick with this, but this podcast is scalable. We do one episode, it could get 1,000 people impacted.
Yep.
That is scalable. What is not scalable is one hour coaching session with one person. But one of them is profitable. Usually scalable in the beginning is not profitable. And that's what people get messed up. There's this whole thing about passive income, financial freedom, and what the problem is that you pay, if you want to be financially free, the truth of the matter is, mathematically, that means at least a decade of like consistent investing in something, right? I know some of my clients, that client that you're referring to, she's financially free. Mm-hmm. Financially free means you have a big enough nest egg where the money that produces is more than enough to live on. But that takes, she's in her late 40s. She's married to a surgeon, and they were broke for their 30s and 40s, late 20s and 30s. But it's very important to realize that Train A is the short-term profitability. That's the thing that puts money in the bank account, and that's the thing that is not scalable. Train B, like a YouTube channel, super scalable, but no money out of the gate. You're not going to make any money out of the gate. No money. Yep. And it's very important for people to realize that. I had a YouTuber who is wildly successful, and he was only making like $6,000 a month, in the beginning. And now I think it's way more than that, which is great. But in the beginning, he was struggling for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's a very challenging understanding, I think, because we want to jump from something that we dislike to something that we love. And you can do that, but you're not going to bring the results with you. If the results are money and you're making $100,000, let's just say you're making $50,000 at your job, whatever your job is. It's very hard to make $50,000 in your own business as a dream chaser, whatever your business is. It's not an easy feat.
Can you go into that? Like, how hard is it?
I mean, you got to either find 50 people that pay you $1,000 a year. Just if you think of the numbers, and I know you might be thinking, well, that's only 50 people. Trust me, in order to get 50 people to pay you, you have to talk to 5,000. The ratio. This is another one of those things on social media where I don't want to say people are intentionally lying. Some people are intentionally lying, for sure. But I think some people like to make it sound easier than it is when somebody says, well, if you want to make $100,000, all you have to do is sell, make $350 a day. That means all you got to do is sell 10 $35 programs. Selling 10 programs a day means you got to reach, 150, 200, 500 people a day. It's just really a numbers game. So it's very, very hard to make $50,000 on your own if you're really focused on living holistically and aligned. I'm sure you could do it in many other ways that maybe they're more aligned for you than they would be for me. I don't know. But it's challenging. Just don't lose sight of the fact that you've built up so much momentum in this one arena and you're jumping over to another arena. You get to take all the skills, but unfortunately, you don't necessarily get to take any of the money. Your new dream chasing thing has no memory of how much money you used to make. Doesn't matter. I went from making I used to make, the most I ever made at a job was $120 an hour. So I made $120 an hour on one of the jobs.
And the key with that is that's full time. So that's 120 times 40 every week on the week.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like, but that's the other thing. It's not just $120 an hour. It's $120 an hour, 40 hours a week every week.
It's
because
$960 a week.
But it's not the same because it's, you know what I mean? I'm not coaching 8 hours a day every day, right? So that's the other misunderstanding people don't have of, well, you make $150 an hour. It's like, yeah, but it's not every hour.
Right.
And so anyways, just something to continue.
Yeah. I think it's very important to have discussions like this just because I don't know. You've worked with so many people. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of podcasters at this point. And all these podcasters are dream chasers. They start their podcast because they want it to be a full-time thing. And I always tell them, this is not, to Alan's quote, this is not a you problem. This is the way it works.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not successful. You're 50 episodes in. That's not that much time. I know it's a year if you do an episode every week. I watched this, and then we got to go because you have a call. I watched this YouTube channel last night of this guy he lives in Alaska, and he goes out in the wilderness and builds like igloos, and he basically lives off the land for days at a time. And he said, I've done this I've uploaded a video every Saturday for 5 years, and I've never missed. And I was thinking to and he says, it takes me anywhere from 70 to 80 hours a week between coming out here and doing this and doing all the content, editing it. Imagine getting 3 days of footage and editing it into a 20-minute video. Dude. My goodness.
Dude.
That must be, and shout out to all the amazing video editors out there. We have several on our team. We don't have that much content, but you can imagine at a deeper level than I can. So yeah, next level nugget so we can get Alan out of here because Alan has a call. Don't expect to jump from dead grass to green grass. There's going to be some level of mud in between, and I think the more accurate you are and the deeper understanding you have of that mud, the more likely you are to succeed.
227 rule, learned it from Brian Tracy. I never used to believe in this. I do deeply now. Any new endeavor takes 2 years to kind of fail and learn, go into debt. The next 2 years, you kind of break even and start to get it, and it takes 7 to actually succeed on a level that anyone else will ever notice. So as hard as that is, if you love it and you're passionate about it, I'm not saying to stay at a job you hate. What I'm saying is do not do not start a podcast and think it's going to pay your bills for the first year. The podcast needs to be in parallel with whatever is profitable. And that is the practical truth that is going to be super awesome for you, especially for young people. So I still want you to dream chase. I still want you to do it, but I want you to run it in parallel. I don't want you to fall for the 4-hour work week crap, because none of that is real, I promise.
In the wise words of one of he wasn't a mentor, he was a friend. He said, there's a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. He said, the only person that's ever gotten rich off the 4-Hour Workweek was Tim Ferriss, the author himself. So, again, take that for what you will.
Tim's never worked 4 hours in his life. He works 60 hours a week every week for 20 years.
Most likely.
Yeah.
If you have not yet, please join Next Level Nation, our private Facebook group, and friendly reminder that we have Next Level Live 2024 in person and virtual March 23rd in Groton, Mass, and streaming over the interweb via Zoom. Tickets in person are $97. You get a buffet-style lunch and a free Dreamliner, and $47 virtually. We would love to see you all there. Tomorrow, for episode number 1604, the difference between high self-worth and entitlement. Another one that's a little bit close to the heart, so it'll be a serious discussion, but again, I think those are some of the best episodes to grow through. As always, we love you, we appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you, and at NLU, we don't have fans, we have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Run it in parallel. Next Level Nation.